Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Our apologies for the delay. We were experiencing some technical issues, which has since been resolved, so we can resume now. So this is our afternoon session. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is June 3rd, and welcome to the City of Toronto Committee of Adjustment, Scarborough District. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, which is an online digital platform, and it is streamed onto the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits gatherings at attendance at public gatherings. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who have registered in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, the online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on the YouTube channel. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer or phone or a tablet app. All participants will automatically be muted upon entry when your item is called. Each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video today. Any registered participants will be participating by audio only. We ask that you please mute your devices until you're called on to speak. Before we begin, we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. In accordance with Section 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to a property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today who wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on any application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and an email address because Committee of Adjustment and the T-Lab will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or the T-Lab, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal or the OLT. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. In terms of the hearing procedure, I will call each item in the order that's listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the applicant or the agent will proceed with their presentation if required. The committee may ask questions or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or the agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you're reaching the 5 minutes. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters that are outlined in the application. And I also want to emphasize that repeating the same comments again will not advance your cause. I would appreciate if you can summarize your comments and stay to the point with regards to the application. The applicant or the agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposal at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if it is substantially revised to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those who are entitled to receive the notice of application are informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or in opposition to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or the agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. That would mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. For the afternoon session, we are going to be dealing with items 18 to 28. For the afternoon session, are there any conflicts of interest for any of the items on the agenda? between staff and panel members, and I see none. Thank you very much for confirming that. Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have you received any requests for deferral for items on this session of the agenda?
Through the chair, there's one deferral request. It's item 25, 6 Ardell Avenue. It's a deferral to the June 23rd public hearing due to insufficient notice. A new public hearing notice will be issued.
Okay, thank you. And for the item 25, 6 Ardell Avenue, do we have the agent online, Yasu Somalingam? Hello, Yasu, are you with us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Yaso Somalingam.
All right, thank you, Yasu. So we have your request for deferral. Do you have any comment at this time?
No, I think there are some issues with the notices sent, so we have no choice. We had to go for the next meeting.
Okay, all right. So committee members, we have a request for deferral due to insufficient notice, and the deferral request and the motion, if the committee wishes to make the motion to reschedule to the June 23rd public meeting. Any comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Any comments or a motion at this time? Members of the committee? Member Singh, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is, as we heard from the applicant or the owner, it's a deferral because of the insufficient notice. So I put forward motion for deferral of item number 25, and this will be rescheduled for our upcoming meeting on June 23rd.
May I have a seconder, please? Please go ahead, Mr. Taylor.
Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
Thank you. And all in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been deferred to the June 23rd public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Mr. Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any more requests for deferral?
Through the chair, there are none.
Thank you. We are going to begin vetting the agenda, starting with the first item on this session or in this session, item 18. And item 18 is 3070, so 3070 Ellesmere Road. And I will note that there is a list of speakers registered to speak, so we will hold down this item and come back. So item 18, which is 3070 Ellesmere Road, is being held for further discussion. Item number 19 is 90 Westbourne Avenue. There are no registered speakers except the applicant and the owner. Can I please have Melchor Gallion, please? Thank you. Hello, Melchor. You with us?
Yes.
Hello, Melchor. We have your application before us. We're vetting the agenda. Do you have any comment at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So there are no comments from Melchor. There are no conditions as well, as I checked. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for Melchor? If there are none, can I please have a motion? Member Taylor, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair, I see this as a pretty straightforward application. A single variance that I believe meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act, so I move approval without conditions.
Thank you. And may I have a seconder, please? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I will second that approval.
Thank you. And all in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application for 90 Westbourne Avenue has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will go on to our next item, item 20, which is 37 Moran Road. And there are no registered speakers other than the agent and the owner's son. So can I have the agent Dan Asimovich? Thank you. Dan, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Thank you very much. So Dan, we are going through vetting the agenda. Do you have any comment at this time?
Okay, I do not. Now, you're just vetting the agenda because we're item number 20, correct?
Yes, you are item number 20, and this is 37 Moran Road, and I am vetting the agenda.
Correct.
Okay, All right, perfect. So you have no comment. Members of the committee, do you have any questions for MORAN? I do note that there are conditions of urban forestry, and Dan, are you familiar with the conditions, and do you have any concerns with those conditions?
I am aware of them and we have no concerns.
Thank you very much. All right, members of the committee? If there are no further comments, then motion, please. Yes, Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, again, I see this as a pretty straightforward application. I believe the 4 variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval, subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. And may I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion for approval, subject to the conditions as mentioned.
Thank you. And all in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application for 37 Moran Road has been approved subject to conditions of urban forestry. Thank you.
Thank you.
We now go to item 21, and item 21 is 108 Seminole Avenue. 108 Seminole Avenue, and I note that there are speakers registered to speak on this item, so I will hold down this item for further discussion. Item 21 is being held for further discussion. We go to item 22. Item 22 is 88 KALMAR Avenue. There are no registered speakers, and we have the agent, Patrick McAuliffe. Patrick, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Do you have any comment at this time?
No, I think it speaks for itself.
Okay, all right. Members of the committee, any questions or comment on this application? I see none. All right, if there are no comments, can I please have a motion? And I do note that there are no conditions here. Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a pretty straightforward application. I see there are 3 variances, building length, front yard setback, and front porch encroachment. I believe all of these variances are minor, appropriate. So I put forward motion for approval of these applications, and as you mentioned, there are no conditions to that.
Thank you. And may I have a seconder, please? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I second that motion.
Right, and all in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application for 88 KALMAR Avenue has been approved with no conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we now go on to our item number 23. And item 23 is 3453 Victoria Park Avenue and 50 to 68 MORECAMBE Gate. There are no registered speakers. We have the applicant here, Chris Pereira. Chris, are you with us? Hello, Chris.
Good.
Good afternoon, Chris. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, you are very faint.
Does that help at all?
Does not help. Can you say something? Okay, now it seems we've lost you. You've muted yourself. Try now.
The host has unmuted me now. You're still having trouble hearing me?
It came back with a loud bang and it's getting faint again. How about this? Do you have any comments on your application at this time?
Madam Chair, I do not. I feel like it's fairly straightforward. Should any members of committee have any questions, I am more than happy to answer them.
Absolutely. All right. So on that note, members of the committee, do you have any questions for Chris? And I see none. All right, Chris, there are no questions on this application. So members of the committee, if there are no questions, can I have a motion on this application? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Thank you. I see this as very minor changes to your property, predominantly projections. Although there's a lot of them, they're all very tiny. And as I said, they fit the variances for minor items. I recommend approval of this variance.
Thank you, and
There are no conditions.
thank you. Seconder, Member Said, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I second the motion for approval.
And all in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and the application has been approved for item 23. Sorry, item 23, yes, that's correct. Thank you. Okay, we now go to item 24, and item 24 is 123 Preston Street. There are no registered speakers, but we have the agent, and I did get a revision to the agent. So we had Daryl Evaristo previously, but now Matthew Ribau will be speaking on this application. So can we have Matthew, please?
Hello, Council.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, my name is Matthew Rebo, and we have seen the comments by Urban Forestry, and we have no issues with those conditions.
Excellent, thank you. And members of the committee, do you have any questions for Matthew on this application? I see none. All right, thank you. If there are no questions, can I please have a motion? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you very much, Matthew, to be upfront, having an acknowledgement that you are clear about the urban forestry conditions, number 1 and number 2. So with that, I put forward motion for approval of item 24, subject to the urban forestry condition number 1 and 2.
And may I have a seconder, please? Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
Right, and all in favor of this motion? The motion is carried and the application has been approved subject to conditions of urban forestry. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Item number 26, 94 PITT Avenue. There are no registered speakers, so I guess we can proceed with the agent. Jesse Raju Kenneth. Jesse, are you with us? Right? Hello? Hello? Jesse, are you with us? Okay, maybe we can try the other agent, Faisal Ahmed. Is Faisal with us? Okay,
Yeah,
hello.
hello.
Okay, we have you back, Jesse.
Hello, can. Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time. I just want to introduce the application. This is a consent application, and there are 2 associated minor variance applications. The applications to create 2 residential lots, and there are associated minor variance applications for that. There are no registered speakers, as I mentioned. Jesse, would you like to make any comment at this time, or can I go to the committee members?
Yeah, I would like to quickly go through the variances.
We don't need that unless you really think it's important. Maybe I can ask the committee if they want any explanation. I'm vetting the agenda because if you want to go through the variances and describe, then I will have to hold down this item.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I figured so. Okay, so members of the committee, do you have any questions for Jesse? And before we do that, I just want to confirm with Jesse, you have the revised memo from engineering services, and have you read that?
Yes, I do have.
And you are
Yes,
familiar?
I have read that.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
Perfect.
yes.
All right. So committee members, any questions? I see. Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
No questions. I'm prepared to put forth the motion for the consent application. I note that this was refused in 2017, but appealed to the T-Lab and approved And since that date, a number of other lots in the area have the same configuration and the same lot sizes. So I believe the consent meets the pattern of development on the area and recommend approval. I can put forth the approval also of the variances.
Okay.
Um,
Do you want to deal with the consent first and then do the variances? Or do you want to just do it all
It's
together?
in your hands.
Okay, just because you've put forward the motion for consent, let's get through that and then we'll do the variances, okay? So we have a motion on the floor to approve the consent application for 94 Pitt Avenue, and there are no conditions. There
Through
are,
the chair,
Yes, there
there are
okay. There are-
ECS conditions for the consent, no conditions for the minor variances.
Okay, perfect. So the ECS is for the consent application. So we have the motion on the floor to approve, subject to conditions of ECS. May I have a seconder, please? Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, I will second that motion.
And all in favor of this motion? The motion's carried. The consent application has been approved, subject to conditions. Now we can deal with the two associated minor variance applications. Member Macaulay?
Okay, I put forth a motion to approve the two variance applications for each lot. They are very similar to what was asked for a couple of years ago and were approved. They have slightly increased the requests, but they're consistent with what is being built in the area. And I am satisfied that this is a minor variance and appropriate for development.
Thank you. And may I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
I second the motion for approval, and there are no conditions here.
Okay. All in favor of this motion? And motion's
Thank you,
carried.
Madam Chair and committee members.
Yeah, the motion's carried and the applications have been approved. Okay, so the next one is 77 Kitchener Road. There are no registered speakers, so let's see, can we have Peter, please? Hello, Peter.
Good afternoon, committee.
Good afternoon, Peter. So we have your application before us for a consent application and associated minor variance application. And you have received copies of conditions from Urban Forestry and ECS.
I have.
And do you have any concerns with those or questions?
We do not.
Okay.
We do not.
Thank you. Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I'd like to make a comment on this application. I went out and took a look at this property, and whenever I've got some questions, I do a visual site visit, and the neighbor across the street brought my attention to the large sugar maple on the front lawn. I noticed that the site plan that accompanies this application is designed in such a way as to reserve that sugar maple, and I thank Peter for that consideration.
We had the same intention. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that comment, Member Macaulay. If there are no further comments, can I please have a motion? All right, Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I recommend approval of the consent application as it meets the character of the area, and it is subject to a number of conditions.
So would you like to say urban forestry and engineering and standard conditions of consent?
I would.
Okay, all right. May I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
I second the motion for approval of this consent application, subject to the urban forestry condition and ECS conditions.
Madam Chair, if I may, before the vote?
Please go
If I
ahead.
may, before the vote, Madam Chair?
Of course, please go ahead.
I also note conditions from engineering and construction services in addition to the standard conditions.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you for pointing out. So there are in addition to the standard conditions, there's the ECS condition of the revised R plan, I guess? That's what the one you're referring to, right? Okay. All right, so,
Yep.
so Member Macaulay, would you like to amend your motion? And then perhaps Member Said can second it?
Okay. Recommend approval of the consent application subject to the urban forestry conditions, subject to the ECS conditions and the standard conditions of consent.
Okay, thank you. May I have a seconder? Member Said?
Madam Chair, I second the motion for approval, subject to the conditions as stated.
Okay, thank you. And all in favor of this motion? The motion has been carried and the application for consent has been approved. Now, the associated minor variance applications for 77 Kitchener Road. Member Macaulay, you want to do that? Okay, please go ahead.
Yes, I recommend approval of the minor variance applications for 77 Kitchener Road. There's two variance applications. There's a number of variances, 10 in fact. However, they all appear to be very minor and fit into the character of other development in the area. So I recommend approval of variance A29, 22, 23, and A30, 22 SC.
Thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, happy to second that motion.
All right, all in favor of this motion? And the motion carries. The applications have been approved for 77 Kitchener Road. Thank you. Okay, we now move to our next item, item 28, and this is 2657 to 2659 Midland Avenue. We did have a registered speaker, Douglas Jack, on the list. However, staff has advised that Douglas is no longer available to speak. So we do not need to hold down this item for the purposes of the speakers, but we can certainly invite the agent, and if the committee wants to hold it down, then we can ask that question. So for item 28, can we have Yasu Somalingam, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Yaso Somalingam.
All right, Yasu, so the speaker who had registered to speak is no longer available, so we can proceed. Your application was deferred to this hearing to provide you the opportunity to give proper public notice. Have you read the revised ECS memo, and are you okay with the conditions from both the ECS as well as the urban forestry?
Yes, Madam Chair, I went through all the conditions and I'm okay with that conditions.
Okay, and including the revised ECS memo from May 31st, right? That talks about road conveyance and elimination of fences and revised R plan?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right, thank you. Members of the committee have any questions for Yasu? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I think we need to discuss this application.
Oh.
It appears to be identical to an application of March 6, 2020 for consent. That application in March 2020 was refused by this committee. So I think we need to spend some time considering if this new application changes our mind.
Okay, so you
Madam Chair, sorry, that one is completely different. This is existing 2 lots and it's the configuration change and again 2 lots. Earlier, the March 20 application is for 3 lots. So this is again exactly 2 lots, but only the configuration of the lot is changed. That's it.
So
March 20 application was 3 lots.
Okay, I understand that. I believe that the consent deals with the configuration of the lots. And that was one of the reasons why it was refused 2 years ago.
No, 2 years ago, we were asking total of 3
Perhaps,
lots.
Madam Chair, we should hold this item down for further discussion.
Okay, all right, I will hold down this item for further discussion. Okay, so item 28 is being held for further discussion. Okay, that brings us to the end of the item for vetting. I will just go through the list again to recap the items that have been held. So first item that was held is item 18, item 21, and item 28. Okay, all right, thank you very much. So we'll start with the first item. Item 18. Just give me a moment. 3070 Ellesmere Road. So 3070 Ellesmere Road. Can we have the agent Lisa Ward Mather? Okay, Lisa, you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Lisa, could you confirm with me if both the owners and the owners' lawyers are also going to be speaking tonight, this afternoon?
I believe they may be deferring their time, but we'll make that decision depending on
Okay.
what the other speakers have to say.
Okay, let me check then. Can we have, I guess we can just go in sequence or maybe just ask. I'll ask. Sorry? No, we have the two owners and the owner's lawyer, so we can just start with the agent? Yeah, just, okay, Barry, can we have Barry Hauer? Okay, Barry, you with us?
Yes.
Hi, so Barry, would you be speaking as well this afternoon?
I don't intend to speak unless there is if there is an objection that requires a response.
Okay, all right. So I guess we can find out later on once we speak with the neighbors, and if I'll check with you guys if you want to speak at that point. Okay, so we can start with Lisa Ward Mather. Lisa, please go ahead. Would you like to make a presentation?
If that would be useful, I've prepared just a few slides.
Sure.
So yeah. So good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm a planning associate with Bousfields. My name is Lisa Ward Mather. I'm speaking on behalf of 3070 Ellesmere LP in support of the minor variance application before you today. I also wrote a letter of support, which you should have on file. This application requests minor variances for a proposed development on a site municipally known as 3070 Ellesmere Road. And as you'll see on this slide here, the site is located at the northeast corner of Ellesmere Road in Moran Court, which is west of Morningside Avenue. The proposal is for a 28-story building, including mezzanine and mechanical penthouse. 246 residential units are proposed, as well as retail space at grade. And as the site is located close to the University of Toronto Scarborough and Centennial College campuses, the proposal has been designed to primarily house students. In my opinion, and as set out in the letter, the proposal meets the 4 tests set out in the Planning Act and will not result in any unacceptable impacts. I want to start by confirming that my client agrees to the conditions set out in planning staff's report that's dated May 27th, 2022. And I believe there was a further revision sent out this morning, which can be included in the conditions. And the report confirms that staff have no objection to the requested variances. The conditions that you'll see in that report originated from previous approvals, including a site-specific bylaw. That's bylaw 1421/2007. That's from 2007, as well as a 2014 minor variance approval that was obtained by previous owners of the site. So this is on this slide, you'll see a comparison of stats for all 3 versions of the project. These are just a few stats, and there's more information available if you'd be interested in that. I believe the letter includes more. The 2014 variances, you'll note, are not yet in force, as the required conditions, including the removal of the holding provision, have not yet been met. And an application for that removal of the H was filed in 2021. And is currently moving through the process with staff. So the proposal's current form is largely in keeping with the plans approved by the committee in 2014. Both the metric height and the GFA are the same as that approved by the committee in 2014. The variances requested in the application before you are required to permit minor changes to the design of the proposed development, as well as 2 variances related to the environmental remediation of the site. Those variances seek to revise the approach to remediation in order to follow an updated restoration action plan. The design-related variances will permit revised setbacks, parking provision, canopy projections, and the removal of balconies. These design changes incorporate feedback from city staff. And if you see on the next slide, there's a sort of attempting to give you an explanation for 3 of the variances. And I'll reiterate again, the variances requested for height and GFA are both unchanged from the 2014 design. You'll see in the letter there's a note about the definition of stories being used in this application being a conservative one. So the proposed height is now reflected at 28 stories because it includes a mezzanine as well as the mechanical penthouse. Whereas the 2014 one did not seem to reflect that, although the metric height was the same. So on this slide here, you'll see variance 1, 8, and 5 showing just the sort of slight revisions that were included there. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have if you require some clarification on what the changes are.
Okay. Is that all, Lisa?
I'm just want to leave some time for the committee to ask some questions if they have them, but yes.
Sure, absolutely, no problem. Okay, I just wanted to make sure your slide deck was done. Okay, so members of the committee, members of the committee, any questions for Lisa? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Thank you. I have one question and one comment. First of all, the comment. I know this site. It's used to have an office building on stilts, quite an unusual provision. And I'm glad to see that you are dealing with the remediation of the site. I imagine that has taken some time. So that's my comment. My question really is, the variance is requesting a reduction in the parking standard. But in your report, you state that the council, City of Toronto Council, in December 15th, 2021, removed the minimum parking standard requirements in the zoning bylaw. I'm assuming because you are asking for this reduction that bylaw is not yet in force. Can you clarify whether that bylaw is in force or whether it has been appealed? What is the status of it?
Well, this site is subject to a site-specific bylaw under the Scarborough. There's the Scarborough bylaw, and then there's the site-specific bylaw, which was passed in 2007. So the parking provisions are stated there, as well as there was the 2014 minor variance, which is not yet enforced. But the 2007 bylaw is the one that we are responding to, because that I believe there's a minimum of 319 spaces in the 2007 bylaw, and then we have reduced it in order to reflect the current thinking about parking, as well as the intended occupants of this building being students. And there's a letter from IBI as well, I'll just mention too, that should have been included in the materials before you, confirming that the parking provision is appropriate.
Yes, I noted that this building is to be predominantly rental, and it's to provide for the students that are going to the college, which is all of 300 meters away from this building. So that is quite appropriate. And it was because of the IBI statement that I questioned whether the council's decision regarding parking requirements had changed, or what was the impact. If you don't know the answer, that is fine. I don't have a problem with your revised parking.
Member Macaulay?
Yeah, I believe IBI is, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to, sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to say staff may have some background, so staff, please go ahead.
Through the chair, the citywide parking bylaw and the reduction, that was approved by council, I believe, in December 2021. However, it was, so it does reflect council policy or council direction. However, it has not yet been enacted, and the reason why is because it has been appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal. That's the reason why it's
Thank
not
you
in
for
full
that
force and effect.
clarification.
That's why it's there. Okay.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Okay, all right. Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lisa, I have a question about the height or the number of stories, because one of the variants before the committee is about the height and the number of stories. So just let us know what are the triggering factors for that. Although in your presentation you were comparing the changes 2014 and current, including the mezzanine and the penthouse, but I need some further elaboration on that. Also, could you give me a comparison of height and number of stories of this building to any other building on the Ellesmere Road?
Right. Okay. So there was a fair amount of discussion about the number of stories in advance of this application. The Toronto Buildings review that was done had triggered the mechanical penthouse and mezzanine accounting as stories, which we believe in 2014 did not happen. The metric height is the same as the 2014 application, but the number of stories is shown as being too higher because those two elements of the design are being counted as stories according to this conservative definition of what a story is. So that is why we have stated the height as being 28 stories as opposed to 26, because the mechanical penthouse, which is not in all bylaws counted as a story, is being shown that way in this application. So I think a lot of definitions, this building would be a 26-story building. That is why. Is that a good explanation for what you're asking?
Yeah, I understand you have further clarified it, and I don't see there is a variance related to the angular plan, but you must have done a study on that, right?
That's not one of the requested variances here. We're not required to.
I understand. Yeah, it's not a variance. I'm just asking because when you do a comparative study and look into the heights and number of the stories, you might have done it. I'm just reconfirming it.
No, I don't believe we've done that study, or at least not the time I've been with the file, but perhaps there can be other confirmation from the other speakers if I'm incorrect about that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? I don't see. Okay, so let's go and speak with our neighbors, and then we can always come back and check with the solicitor and the owners if they wish to speak. So we can move to the first neighbor, Saqib Niaz. Hello, Saqib.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Sir, please go ahead, and you have 5 minutes.
Sure. I mean, this is my first time reading about it, so I wasn't sure what's happening. So basically, I know, like, obviously, I don't know the history of the site or anything, building in front of us. The only thing that I observed is, like, if you look at the buildings around us, it's no longer than, I think, maybe 15-story or 16-story. So that's why I don't know if it's gonna look different, like, and also it's in the forefront. So that's my only, I guess, comment or concern. But other than that, I think that's pretty much all I had to say. And also the site, because I know it used to be like dump site back in the 50s or 60s. So I don't know if that might be a challenge going forward. Again, I'm not an engineer, so my thought. That's all.
Okay, no, you have some valid points, and I can try to elaborate on a couple of things. So first of all, you're right. It's probably going to be taller than what exists right now. There was a site-specific zoning bylaw done for this property, I would say almost 10 years ago, that permitted a height of 24 stories. Okay, so yes, this may be the first one, but it has the permission to build up to 24 stories, which equates to 75 meters. Since then, the application that is before us today is seeking a relief from that provision to allow them to do a 28-story building, which, as Lisa explained, technically it's a 26, but the way they count the stories and the height, it equates to 28 stories. So it has as of right permission to build 24. They're asking for another 4 stories here today. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, the contamination of the site, that is also, those are also requirements of the zoning bylaw, the site-specific zoning bylaws for the site to be cleaned up and remediated to whatever the standards are, and that is also part and parcel of this application. Just so you know, and I can truly hear your concerns about, contaminated site and the challenges associated with it, but that's all part of the development and planning approval process, which is being taken care of by City of Toronto Planning Department right now. So that's what I could elaborate on, but I'm sure Lisa can add more, or one of her, colleagues can add more to that. Does that help you, or would you need more explanation in terms of the height? I'm sure Lisa is going to add on, but would you like to say anything more at this time?
No, I was just curious how it's going to look when it's like standing up tall and kind of dwarfs the neighbors. That's it.
Okay, all right. No, I can certainly appreciate that. I guess that's why there's this existing context, and there's always this planned context. And council back in 2014, I guess, or 2012, I guess, envisioned this to be a taller building at a height of 24 stories. So essentially, this is carrying on council's direction, adding a little bit more relief to that, but sort of taking that same direction from council. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, okay.
Great.
If there are no further
Sounds
questions.
good.
Sorry?
No, I said sounds good.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us. We can go to our next neighbor, Rajesh and Eniyat Rambaros. They're not there? Okay. So staff has confirmed that Rajesh and Eniyat Rambaros are not available to speak. Okay, so we can go back to Lisa. Lisa, you heard Saqib express some concerns about the height. I try to give some background. Do you want to add more to it?
No, I just want to confirm that the height has been determined by looking at the context and the right of way width in front of along ELLESMERE Road, and we believe it to be appropriate in this location.
Okay. And do you want to expand a bit more on the contamination piece that was brought up?
Right. Yeah. Two of the variances are related to the remediation of the site, and the main relief that's being requested actually is to update the approach to the remediation. So there is a new restoration action plan that will be dealing with the contamination on the site, and that will be used to guide mitigation going forward, rather than using the 2007 restoration action plan that had originally been done. So I think that's a very positive move in order to really confirm that the newest methods are being used, and that the approach to remediation is going to be updated and really fully addressing the issues.
Okay, thanks. Lisa, just, it's probably, I read it somewhere. When was the original site-specific zoning done? Which year was that?
2007.
Oh, 2000, okay. So it's more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 2014, there was a site plan application and a committee of adjustment. I get it. Okay. So yes, Saqib, if you're still online, the original bylaw, the site-specific was done in 2007. So that's been almost 15 years, 16 years now. All right, thank you very much, Lisa, for that. I will check with the owner and the lawyers just to make sure. So Barry, do you have any comments? Would you like to say anything?
Oh, thank you.
Okay, we'll check with Oscar as well, Oscar Johansson. Okay, Oscar's not there?
No comments for me, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And David Bronskill?
I have nothing to add. I was just here depending on those who were here to speak, but thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for all. Members of the committee, any further questions before we take the matter into committee? Oh, the amendment.
Through the chair, we would like to place an amendment on the screen.
Sure.
Which has been circulated it was received from community planning and has been circulated to the applicant.
Okay, and that's what Lisa was referring to. So on the screen, members of the committee, is the revised recommendation, which is what's included in the community planning staff report, but this morning we received an amendment to it. So essentially adding the area, the sentence that's highlighted in blue. Speaks to the indexation. Do you have any questions on this, committee members?
Should the committee wish to approve the application, it would be approval subject to the community planning conditions with the additional indexing modification.
Okay.
Which is reflected in recommendation number 5.
Thank you. All right, I don't see any question or hands raised. So thank you very much for all those who attended this this application discussion. Take the matter into committee. Committee members, if there are no comments or questions, can I please have a motion? Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I recommend approval of this variance application. I think it's been well thought out, and that the planning staff have considered a number of items, especially trying to update it from the 2007 original rezoning to 2022. And I recommend approval subject to the 5 conditions that were, recommend approval subject to the 5 conditions that were added by community planning and the revision that was presented today. I understand that the applicant has seen all of these conditions and they are in agreement.
That is correct. Okay. May I have a seconder to the motion? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion for approval subject to the condition as stated.
And all in favor of this motion? The motion's carried and the application has been approved subject to conditions as noted. Thank you. Okay, we now go to our next item that was held for further discussion, and that is item number 21. Item number 21 is 108 Seminole Avenue, and can we have Peter Jerusik, please? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, committee.
Good afternoon, Peter. I will not do a roll call, but I will just name the registered speakers who are here to speak, just so that they can prepare themselves to speak. So Ramanan Thana Balasignam and Priya Shanmugaratnam. We will be with you in a few minutes, so you may prepare your speaking notes. All right, Peter, we have you. Do you want to present, or do you want to start taking the questions? How do you want to proceed?
I'd like to do just a short presentation.
Okay, all right. So you have
If,
5 minutes.
Okay, if the committee can put up the site plan, please.
Sure.
On the screen.
Give us a moment.
As we're waiting for that site plan, we're requesting 5 variants here. 2 of them being in terms of front yard and rear yard setbacks. I'm sure the committee has had a chance to review the site plans. As you can see, we are in a kind of an odd curve, an S-shaped part of a curving of the curve for Seminole Avenue with an angled rear yard as well. And we've tried to respect it for the most cases. However, because our house is rectangular and the property lines are kind of as an S shape, that it's only on the extreme measures, especially at the front yard, where we're requesting the 6 meters, where the requirement is 6.71, and that is to be in line with the 110 next door. However, because we are on a curve, if you're following the straight line, correct, we are not at 6.71. However, our property line does pull away, where we actually get it up to 9.9 meters away on the farther side. And it's just a matter of trying to squeeze a rectangular house into an odd-shaped lot. So that's why we have that 6 meters only on the one corner of the garage. As for the rear yard setback, that only applies to the second floor kind of cantilevered area we have, but the majority of our our rear yard is 8 meters or in compliance with the 7.5. It's only on a second story, a little bump out that we're requesting that variance. And that is because the rear yard does slope back in that section. As for the height, it's just we are still under the potential. We were debating either flat roof or pitched roof, which pitched roof would allow us 9 meters. But due to the request for the client, we request a minor variance on the height and for a slight larger house of 39.7 meters. I'd like to point out that we do have discussions with planning department, and they are in support of these requested variances as well.
For your presentation. We will now go to our first speaker, Ramanan Thana Balasignam. Hello, Ramanan.
And panelist. So this is Ramanan Thana Balasignam. I'm a resident of 106 Seminole.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead. You have 5 minutes. Please tell us your concerns.
Yes. So the concern, as Peter mentioned, I wanted to kind of, saw the layout that he presented. I wanted to have some detailed explanation again. I'm not really familiar with these drawings and any of these. So I wanted someone to explain me in full detail how long in the front yard it's going to come out. And is it going to be 2-story coming out all the way to the front yard that blocking sunlight to my property? Or any of these privacy issues that we're going to be facing. I know my wife, Priyadarshini Shanmugaran, she's on the line too, and then she has put down some other questions that she will be presenting.
Okay, so the way this works, Ramanan, is that you have your time to tell us your concern or put forward your questions. I know. And then your wife is also a speaker, so she will also be entitled to her 5 minutes and put down her questions and comments. We will then go back to Peter, and then Peter, who is the applicant, he would be able to address your concerns or questions. Okay, so you're within your time. I heard you mention that you had questions about privacy and how long the front yard setback is going to be and whatnot. So are there any specific questions related to the variance application, or are you in general trying to understand what this proposal is about?
Yeah, I'm in general that I'm trying to understand.
Okay.
And if Peter or from any of these team, what I'm requesting is in line, someone can come and visit and then show how this is going to be laid out instead of showing us the floor plan, which is pretty harder for me to follow.
Understood. Okay, and you are the neighbor on the west side, right? The corner lot. Okay.
That is correct. Yes, on the west side. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to park your questions, and we will have Peter can address those questions and perhaps advise you if someone could be available to meet you or explain to you better. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Do you want to add anything more before I move to your wife?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Can we have Priya Shanmugaratnam, please? Okay, Priya, are you with us?
Hi.
Hi, Priya. So you have
Can
5
you hear me?
minutes. Tell
Hi.
us what your concerns are.
So my name is Priya. So my concerns, as my husband bring it up, is my kids are actually sleeping in the basement, and if they actually build the 2-story houses, there's natural sunlight on the basement will block. So I will get a dark basement instead of getting all the sunlight on it. So that's my concern, how high, if they bring it up to my windows, close to my windows, if they expand that thing on it, so I wouldn't get any natural sunlight on it, that my basement will be completely dark without the sunlight on it. And also other concerns, like my husband also said, the privacy issues, that we might live with 2-story house, and if they build it out and how's that privacy is going to affect us on it. And also because of my house is the owner house, and we as a family usually have the barbecue and everything on the side yard, because the other side is like a traffic roadside. So we usually enjoy our evening on a nice summer day on the side yard. So if they block all the areas, like all the nice view from it, that will affect us on it. And that's all my concern, because it's something that I was enjoying from since 2004. And also I have a tree right beside it, which I have more than 20 years. Would it going to affect my tree? And that's the other thing, my concern, which I already sent it on the form on it. And there's other small concerns that I have, like the fans. Are they, if any damage, how's that going to affect on it? And like, regular service like water, switch backup, or internet service disconnected, because we both work from home. Anything will basically affect our work on it. So those are like a small concern, that those ones on it. And all the equipment parkings and stuff, how's like any objective flying over to my property, who's going to take a responsibility to clean it up and everything. That's all a small concern, but I still kind of want to know on anything on it, and how long this project will be last, and other stuff on it too.
Okay, all right, thank you, Priya. So first of all, it's a neighborhood, you live in a neighborhood. As entitled as you are to build on your property with what is permitted, similarly, any other neighbor is entitled to build what's permitted on their property. So, yes, you may not be used to something in the backyard today because you've been living there since 2004. I'm assuming it's a single-story bungalow, but a two-story building is permitted. So as of right, the zoning permissions are in place. They can build a two-story building. So yes, it'll be a bit of a change for you. But they have the permission to build a two-story building. As far as traffic and parking is concerned, they are required to provide parking as you are required to provide garage and your driveway parking. They are going to be required to do that as well. As far as damage to the property during construction is concerned, that is unfortunately not part of our purview. If that should occur, I hope not, but if that would occur, then you would have to speak with the neighbor or bring it to the city's attention, and they can help you with that. Servicing, water capacity, those issues are, again, not under our jurisdiction, but there is servicing available. That is why it is before us, and we have not heard from any department saying there is no servicing available, so there will be water and sanitary services available for this development. As far as light and privacy is concerned, we can get Peter, the applicant, to explain a bit more on that. But I would say that, yes, it'll be a bit of a change, and to change to how you've been living for the last 15, 16 years. But they're well within their rights to build a two-story house on the property. What they're here with us today is asking for some exemption or relief on a few zoning regulations. That's what they're here for us, to seek relief on us. And then one of them happens to be a slight increase in the building height. So we can get that clarification from
Yeah, that
them
was
as well. Yeah, we can get some
Yeah.
clarification from there as well. So that was my sort of explanation, a general explanation, but I will let Peter be more specific about those things. Okay?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Priya. And I don't see any other speakers, so I will go back to Peter now. Peter?
Yes, if the committee could put up the site plan again. While we're waiting for that, I just want to note that our house is set further back in the property from 106. Therefore, because we are more on the north side, impact of light should be minimal, especially in the winter time with the sun rising in the southeast. There should be almost no impact of our dwelling in the wintertime. Of course, in the summertime, as it more comes up on the northeast, there might be some slight shadowing at the beginning of the morning, but as soon as we hit getting up to 10, 11, the shadow studies, if we ever prepared one, would show sunlight throughout their whole thing with our building not impacting anything. But I also like to point out that we're not impacting any of the trees. The trees are circled on the site plan. They are being maintained that are there. Also, we're allowed 0.9 side yard setbacks. And we are actually on their property, we're at 1.8, double the required setbacks. So we are further away from the property line, from their property line with the house. We've doubled the setbacks actually on that corner facing it. So which will further minimize the impact of anything of our 2-story, as we are permitted to go 0.9, but we've opted to be 1.85 away from their property line. That's to be respectful to the neighbors, and because we are asking for a little bit of height, my client is saying, let's pull away from the property line a little bit more if we're to compensate for a little bit more height for that. So we are well within the side yard setbacks of 0.9 on all 4 corners there. We're in an increase of 1 meter, if not 1.8 and 1.7.
Peter, can you also point out, I think Priya also had some concerns with, how her basement is being utilized and about privacy. Could you just show on the plan the distance, or maybe staff can point out where the existing
that's what I was
property
bringing
is?
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was bringing up the 1.8. If they want to zoom in into the corner, into the southwest corner of the property, between the property bound between 106 and our property 108,
Could you do that?
we are further away. Their house actually, because their side yard of their house is their backyard in essence. Their house is positioned, I would say, at least we are 1.8 to the property line, and they are a good probably 6 meters, if not 7 to 8 meters to their building. So there's a good 10 meters between the houses to negate any shadowing, to compensate for any shadowing before of our house. Again, we are pushed back and to the north. So the only sunlight affecting would probably be in the summer in the early morning. But directly south being the summertime midday, as soon as the sun will probably clear around 9-10 o'clock our garage, and they'll have full sunlight in their backyard. And in the wintertime, the sun rises on the southeast, so our shadows will not even impact their property.
Okay, all right. So I think that was important for the neighbors to understand, as Ramana mentioned that he also wanted to get some general understanding. Okay, so I think that's the separation there, if Priya and Ramanan are seeing on the screen. So they are at 1.85 from the property line, and within your property, you have approximately 6 to 7 meters there. So altogether, you're looking at 9 to 10 meters, which is approximately 32 feet from the new wall that's being proposed there. Okay, all right, thank you. Did we miss anything, or I think you've covered everything? The height, could you expand a bit on the height, and why are you requesting the additional height?
Our client did have a request for height, mainly he would like to have the 11 and the 9 on the ground floor and second. We do have 4 risers at the front. We do slope a little bit back, so on our rear, we have our driving point is the rear, which is slightly higher. So we're about a foot higher in the back, and that drives the finished floor elevation, which causes the front of the house to be about 5 steps from finished floor to grade, bringing that elevation to a little bit of an increase. So we are requesting from 7.2 to 7.9, which is about 3 feet higher.
Okay. All right, thank you for that, Peter. So it's the grading that's causing a little bit of an increase there.
Some of it plus the fact that he would like to have a 9-foot second floor as well.
I see. Okay, all right. Any further questions for Peter? Peter, there are conditions of urban forestry. Are you aware of those conditions?
We are aware of that.
Okay. All right, members of the committee, if there are no further questions, we take the matter into committee, and if ready, can I have a motion? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate all the clarification from Mr. Peter. Thank you very much. And we heard to the neighbors' point and their concerns. Hopefully they understand the applicant is trying to accommodate them, whatever is possible. As far as the variances before the committee, all 5 variances, they are minor in nature, to my opinion. They are appropriate, whether it's lot coverage, height, platform, or the front and rear yard setbacks. So I put forward the motion for approval of this application, subject to the condition of urban forestry, condition number 2 and 3.
Thank you. Before I ask for the seconder, I just want to make a comment to Peter. Peter, you heard the neighbor. If your client or yourself can meet with the neighbor and help them understand construction details and whatnot, or the project timelines, that would be appreciated. Okay. I now ask for a seconder to the motion. Member Macaulay, please go ahead.
I will second the motion. And I believe this is subject to forestry conditions.
That is correct.
I'm not, yeah.
Okay, all right. So we have a seconder on the motion. All in favor of this motion? And the motion's carried and the application has been approved subject to conditions. Okay, we now go to our next item that was held for further discussion, and that is, last but not the least, item 28, 2657 and 2659 Midland Avenue. And can we have Yasu Somalingam, please? Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, Yasu, so do you want to go straight to the questions? I guess you have a little bit of understanding what the question was, but or do you want more clarification from Member Macaulay on the question?
Yeah. Yes, Madam Chair. In 2018, this lot was severed into 2 lots. Both lots were facing Midland Avenue, each about 37.5 feet front and deep lots, which is as per the survey shown now. And in 2020, further severance were requested to convert the whole thing into 3 lots, which was declined by the committee. So the 2020 application is to have 3 lots. That means converting the same whole lot as configured in 2018 into 2, but later it was submitted for 3 lots, but it was declined. So now this application is still the same 2 lots, but instead of those 2 lots are facing from Midland Avenue, we have 1 lot facing Midland Avenue and the other lot facing Montgomery Avenue. So we are not asking any extra 3rd lot as per 2020 application. We are going back to the same 2 lots, but going in this configuration so that this is not going to have a narrow, long lots, and it's going to have a fairly sized lots matching to the neighborhood. And also the lot, the corner lot facing Midland Avenue will keep the existing house as it is.
Okay, so essentially the diagram that's on the screen, the figure above is the approved lot configuration in 2018. And what you have at the bottom is the proposed lot configuration for the 2 lots.
That's correct.
So essentially, so it's not essentially a lot creation, it's like a lot line adjustment, maybe? Would you consider that as a lot line adjustment stuff? No? I don't know the technical behind that. Okay, so it is still a creation of 2 lots, okay. Because were the lots not created back in 2018?
The 2018, the lots were created and it's approved for 2 lots.
No, they were approved, but did it go through? Were the lots finalized?
Yes, it was finalized. Since those are 2 legal lots now.
Oh, okay.
So I had to merge together and then create 2 lots now.
I see.
Through the
There
chair.
are 2 separate roll number, 2 separate property taxes, and separate, but the only thing is that the house was not demolished or built, 2 new houses, but now Right now, I'm merging those two lots together and then creating two lots.
Ah, understood. Okay, so it's
That
not a lot line
configuration.
adjustment. Yes, it's merging of the two parts of the two lots. Okay, understood now. It's not a lot line adjustment, sorry. Okay. Members of the committee, Member Macaulay. You have a question?
No, no, I have some comments if you're ready for my comments.
Absolutely. That's why we held it for.
Okay. First of all, I'm glad we found out that the consent was created and that there are two lots on Midland Avenue. And once a consent, always a consent. So he can build on those two lots. There was a variance also approved back in 2018. The proposal we have before us is both a consent and several variances. Would staff show the lotting in the area, please? I think it's the staff plan.
Just the location map? Yeah.
Yep.
No problem.
Perfect, thank you. Since we had looked at this application 2 years ago and refused the application for creating a lot that is fronting onto Montgomery Avenue, I remember our discussion at that time. And I went out again to take a look at what was happening in the area and to see whether anything had changed. In actual fact, very little has changed. It's an older area of Scarborough. These are large lots, as you can see, if you go up the street on Midland or on the on the other streets in the area. There is some change in the area. The houses on these lots, and the lots look to have 20-meter frontages, are being torn down, and a new house on the same size lot is being constructed. So you are seeing some changes to the area, but not changes to the lot pattern. And my concern in this case really is the lot pattern, whether the proposal complies with the official plan. The official plan asks that we address the lot pattern, the frontage and lot configuration in the area, that any new plans respect that. As you can see on Montgomery and the area, the lots are east, west, pretty consistently. I went across 3 or 4 streets in this area. There is no lot fronting on Montgomery Road, with the exception of the one neighbor. And he has a very deep lot. It fronts onto Montgomery. And according to his letter, that property was created 35 years ago. So I have a concern that we are starting to create a new lotting pattern that doesn't respect the pattern as shown in the area, that will start to upset the area, and it doesn't comply, in my opinion, with the official plan. I went a little further, and as I said, because we were there 2 years ago and we refused this application to create the new lot on Montgomery, I looked at what is happening on Midland. The two houses that are just north of that's the Agincourt Collegiate that you can see there, both those houses are for sale. And I can expect that what we will see, maybe not this year, but in 2 years, applications to sever those lots. But again, those lots will be severed and create frontages on Midland Avenue. That's only speculation. We're not asked to speculate. We're asked to look at the application in front of us. The application in front of us is to create a new lot on Montgomery. There is variances for side yards, rear yards, and front yard setback. And I mean, I don't want to address the variances because I think the issue really is the consent. Is this appropriate development for the area? And in my opinion, it isn't. I'm open to any questions from our members.
Sure, I'll ask that question, and I'm sure so Yasu would also like to respond to it.
Yes, Madam Chair. We had communication with the planning department for last, I would say, almost 8 months, going back and forth on this new lot configuration. The planning staff are happy with the new configuration compared to the old configuration, which is already approved into 2 lots. And also they had issue with the servicing, and then we gave the servicing drawings for the engineering department. They also liked it, and there is also a house facing on Montgomery Avenue, and also there's one new lot created just north side of Montgomery Avenue facing Glen Bedford. So there'll be one more lot created on north of Montgomery Avenue that will be facing on Montgomery Avenue too. I think they got that lot after they going. I believe they went to T-Lab and got it, or they got that approved already. So the planning department felt it's more appropriate, instead of having 2 narrow deep lots, to have a fairly sized lot, so that the lot pattern is mainly how you look at it from the street. When you look at these houses built after they built from the street, this new lot pattern what we have proposed today, still 2 lots will have a better street view houses which comply to the existing neighborhood. So they felt this is more appropriate on to have this type of lot pattern instead of the previously approved lot pattern. We went through several communication with the planning department as well as with the engineering for the servicing and road works, and they all are in support on this application. After that only I brought this one to the meeting. Unfortunately, the notice sent for the last meeting was there were some errors on the notice which was sent, so we found out that, and then we deferred the meeting to today to get those notices sent correct. So they all got misled, maybe the neighbor too, that we are creating 3 lots. And apparently we are not asking for 3 lots. We are asking still the 2 lots, but with a different lot configuration.
Okay. Thank you, Yasu, for that. Any further comments by Member Taylor or Member Said? Yes, Member Taylor, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say I agree entirely with Member Macaulay's remarks on this application. I have a general concern about consents on corner lots, basically severing rear yards off to create building lots. I think when you look at the original intent of subdivision layout, there's a reason that corner lots have a lot of flankage, and that's to provide the same type of outdoor amenity as other lots on the street that aren't on the corner. So I just think it's a dangerous precedent to establish a lot pattern and configuration that is clearly, in my mind, in this case, inconsistent with the neighborhood. So I can make a motion to that effect, or Member Said, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yes, Member Said, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just wondering, yeah, so while you were talking, I have a street view, both to the Midland and the Montgomery. So yes, the lot pattern you are suggesting is apparently it doesn't look inappropriate. Is there any other example on a similar lot pattern on the Midland Avenue nearby? Because I could not see it on the Google map and the street maps.
The one which was approved on Montgomery, I don't believe they have built anything like that yet, but I know it was approved. But
There's one across the
I
street.
have
What is
personal.
that? There's one across the street, corner of Glen, Watford, and Montgomery. Isn't that a separate parcel? At the back, if you can pull up the location. Kelly, do you mind? No, the one across. No, on the other side. West side? Northwest. Yeah, right there. So isn't that, can you zoom in a little bit? Yeah, isn't that a separate piece at the back?
Yeah,
This piece.
that's the one it was approved in the past.
Again, it was a deeper lot, right? I think if you, I think that would more or less result in the same configuration as the one across the street. Again, there's no such thing as precedent setting. Each application has to be reviewed on its own merit. I just want to, so we're now taking the matter into committee. I guess we've had enough discussion, Yasu. So we'll take the matter into committee now. You had your chance to rebut Member Macaulay's comments as well. So I would like to make a few comments, which is contrary to Member Macaulay and Member Taylor's comments. I see this, yes, it's going to be unique. It's not going to be what is out there in the neighborhood right now, probably, except the one across. But I would say that, in my opinion, it may result in a different and a unique lot fabric, but it's less driveway on Midland, which is much busier than probably Montgomery. I'd also say that we're missing that type of housing product in what's being built lately, are sort of, you know, the shallower facades or the longer facades. I think it adds to the streetscape. It adds more massing to the street. I think you can do a nice, good design of that building. I do hear your comments, Member Taylor, about lack of amenity space at the back. But at the same time, I feel that rather than having sort of sterile or side yards or rear yards with fencing, I would rather like to see like built form and massing, and perhaps when it comes down to the details of the design with wrap porches and things like that in front of the house. So in my opinion, I feel this may be a unique but an interesting configuration, and then especially what has happened across the street as well. It may not look very much out of character. And if you look at the lot which is immediately east of it, that would also have a similar frontage, although that's a deeper lot, but it would have a similar frontage. But I hear your comments at the lack of, at the expense of some amenity space at the back. But it would still carry on a nice built form along that street. That's just my 2 cents. I wanted to put it out to the committee members to consider as well. Okay. All right. If there are no further comments, then can I please have a motion? I'm not voting.
Madam Chair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Madam Chair, I just want to say I recognize your comments, and it's why I spent a considerable amount of time driving in that area to see what is the character, and is it desirable to change the character? And from what I can see in the area, changes are happening, and you know, we should be looking forward to changes, but the changes are happening respecting the existing road and lotting pattern. Until today, the engineering report had said there was no sewers, no sanitary sewers on Montgomery, which again would lead us to believe that they did not anticipate services from Montgomery. The services are from the north-south roads.
So it's going to be from
I think
Midland, right?
That's all I want to say.
Yeah, the servicing will be connected or tapped into from Midland, and that's a cost to the developer who's going to be building it, but servicing will be available. Whether, there's nothing fronting Montgomery, but it will be tapped into from Midland, right?
Yes, it has to happen on Midland.
That's correct. Or perhaps on the other side, Glen Watford. I don't know what the engineering services said. Okay. Fair comment. All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Member Taylor.
yeah, may I ask a question, I think of staff?
Sure, please.
Are there any safeguards that we can impose to ensure that the two titles that currently presumably front on Midland Avenue are merged so that we don't inadvertently create a third lot? Do you see what I mean? That there was a previous severance with the east-west lot line and the long, narrow lots.
Okay.
Through the chair, these lots have already been created. So if they were to merge the titles, just one moment.
I think
We're
to your
getting staff.
question,
Staff is just.
that's why I said a
finding it.
consent is always a consent. They can
No,
always,
I know that, but this is unique because we're taking two parts of a consent and creating a third lot. I just want to make sure that lot line on the Midland Avenue frontage is expunged legally.
I don't think it is. We need a lawyer for that.
Well, or staff. Why don't we
Yep.
wait and hear from staff?
Yeah, we'll just wait to hear from staff.
Through the chair, there were some changes to the Planning Act at the beginning of the year, Bill 276, which previously applications to merge, they needed to receive permission. It would require an application. However, that requirement has been is no longer required. So in the event that that there are two owners on the property, or the same owner on the property, they don't need to get permission from the city to merge it.
They will merge on title.
Correct.
But I think the question was more around how could we prevent them?
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
You can't.
So in fact, if we were to approve this application, there would be three lots from the original single lot.
No.
No.
Two fronting, two.
Two.
No.
Yeah, two plus one.
Which one?
No, it would just be two lots as currently proposed.
Two lots as proposed.
Yes. And they would, what would happen is that they would, once all the conditions were cleared, two certificates would be issued, and there would be two pins based on this current lot configuration.
And the draft reference plan that is before us.
That is correct.
So it's not like a sketch that's before us. We actually have a draft reference plan which will be tied to this decision, right?
That's right. It'll be registered on title.
It will be on title. So essentially what it is.
It would override the previous approval.
Correct.
Just one moment. We're gonna post something.
We'll just pull
We're
something.
going to share our screen, okay? So this site plan is showing should the committee approve this application, this will be the lotting, the two new lots.
And the designs on it. So the.
Just two.
Yeah, just two. One-story brick dwelling will remain as is on parts one and, which parts are those?
1 and 2.
1 and 2?
Sorry.
What are the front two parts, 1 and? I think it was shown on the draft reference plan. 1 and 2, it is 1 and 2. So the existing one-story brick dwelling will continue to remain on parts 1 and 2, and then the parts 3 and 4 will have that new house that is being proposed. So I still think this is creation of two lots, that's it. It's not three lots. It is two lots.
That is correct.
as confirmed by the draft reference plan, as confirmed by the site plan. I think that it has enough bells and suspenders in it to make sure these will be 2 lots. The rest we will leave it to the legal guys to figure it out. As long as the decision says it's only creating 2 lots, that's all that matters, right?
It will.
No, no.
It like basically it's going to be, this is standard consent. You don't need to say that. It's, the permission is for
2 lots only.
2 lots, and we have a rep, as you know, with the decisions, it refers to, it has the parts in there, and it also attaches the reference plan, so it's very clear.
I'm quite convinced that these will be 2 lots and not 3 lots. Okay, should the committee approve it, that is. Okay, well, even today they are 2 lots, so.
Yeah.
Okay, on this very educational note, could we have a motion? It was education for me. Member Macaulay.
Okay, I put forth a motion to refuse the consent application in that it does not comply with the official plan provisions that say consents are to conform to the official plan, and the proposals are to respect the frontages and lot configurations in the area. The consent will result in lots that do not respect and reinforce the existing physical character of the neighborhood. And that's really what I was talking about, is the creation of new lots that are going to undermine the physical character of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. May I have a seconder, please? Member Said, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I second the motion for refusal of this consent application.
Okay, all in favor of this motion? And all opposed? Member Taylor opposes the motion. The motion is carried and the application has been refused. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I think that's the last item on the agenda. We can move on to other parts of the agenda. So, other business, is it?
Through the chair, it's in your agenda package. It's more for an information item. We've the TLAB appeals that have been received for
94 Danforth Avenue.
Sorry, yeah, 94 Danforth Road, which was partially, it was from the last hearing, the May 5th hearing. 3 minor variance applications, partially approved by committee and were appealed by the owner. And since the last hearing, there have been 3 TLAB decisions that have been issued. The first one is for 35 Brumwell Street. The appeals were dismissed, and the decisions of the committee were confirmed. The second decision was for 121 Park Street, consent and minor variance application. Similar, the appeals were dismissed and the decisions from the committee were confirmed. The third decision was for 6758 Kingston Road, a minor variance application. The appeal is allowed and the variances are authorized on condition.
I think for items 1 and 2, the Brumwell and Park, I think the appellants withdrew their appeals. I was reading the decisions.
Yes.
Yeah, they withdrew. Okay. All right. So that is the update on the TLAB decisions and orders. And any other business? I see none. Or
Through the chair, there are none. Our next hearing is June 23rd.
Our next hearing is June 23rd. And until then, you all have a great day and see you in June. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Okay, Member Taylor puts the motion, and all in favor. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good day.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.